right. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Thy Sorceries, Wherein Thou Hast Labored from Thy Youth. And that's pretty much taken directly from Isaiah 47 and 12, as you can see. And this lesson is inspired by this article I ran into earlier. It's called To Understand the Globalist, We Must Understand Their Psychopathic Religion. And this is dated February 21st, 2024, which is a couple of days ago. Today being the 24th of February 2024, hopeful year of Jacob's trouble. And as I'm reading through this article, you know, the whole idea and concept of Esau is unraveling. And the way that he set up and established America, you know, based off of his witchcraft that he's learned from all of these different nations. Now you got to understand that this whole witchcraft and, you know, sorcery and all this stuff that you see going on with the casting of spells and, you know, the Freemasons into their, you know, orders of mysticism and whatever else they're involved in, you know, this all goes back to the ancient world. You know, you have the ancient mystery religions of these different societies, you know, these different pagan societies, you know, going back to Sumeria, going back to ancient Babylon, going back to Egypt, you know, and from all of these different societies and empires that have had their mark on the earth, Esau pretty much just grabbed the full spectrum of them and just incorporated them into one, you know, ball, you know, one ball of confusion, you know, and this is what they use as a marker to rule the world, and they use the Bible, you know, as a prop to make the world believe that they're coming in, you know, in the fashion of the Heavenly Father Yahweh and His Son Yahweh Shai, which they're not. You know, but they have to use the Bible and they have to use the narrative of the scriptures in order to paint their warped sense of their, you know, so-called religion, for lack of better words. Now, I'm going to read a little bit of this, and I got another article in Wikipedia, you know, which is some information. Once we get to this particular word, and we'll see how it goes in the spirit, you know. So this says, to understand the globalists, we must understand their psychopathic religion. And what you see here is something that they have in many different places. You have a boy and a girl, right? And then you have Baphomet, all right? And Baphomet was an androgynous god. You could see the five-pointed star on top of his head. You could see the flames of the fire between his horns. You could see the pentagram here, and then you see the pentagram behind them. Then you see the horns coming up, right? The Goda Mendes, another name for it. You have the caduceus, which is the symbol of the AMA, or the American Medical Association. Right, and this is not medical misinformation. This is not medical advice. This is just information I found and I'm sharing. Now, if you notice, the pentagram on his forehead is one point up. Whenever you see a pentagram with 1 point up, that represents what is it? I believe that's witchcraft. And then when you see like here, the two points sticking up, that represents Satanism, you know, or witchcraft. No, this one's witchcraft and this one's Satanism, or something along those lines. I forget the exact order of it, but basically it's no good. It's no good, either one. So just based off of this symbol, if you call yourself a Christian nation, why would you put this up as your symbol? And their philosophy, right, stems all the way back to Genesis, with the serpent, which was an actual man that was called the serpent in the scriptures, and Eve, that pact, that Gardenian pact that they had back then. This is what the whole thing stems around. Now, they have their whole religion is based around something called theosophy. The word theosophy basically means God wisdom. You know, if you break the word down, Theo and Sophia, Sophia, God wisdom. And pretty much they're pushing the narrative that, you know, these individuals are pushing the knowledge of how to reach godhood. Now, in a sense, that is true for the Israelites. You know, both men and women, the Israelites, we will attain that level, you know, of power on the earth through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Shai, which is to be like the powers. You know, like the Lord said that King David shall be, he that is feeble shall be as King David, and and then some along the lines as he will be like the Most High or the angel of the Most High. So the Israelites will achieve, you know, that God-like state, you know, because this is what we're waiting for. You know, this is what the scriptures say. But they're doing it on the left-hand side, and this is what most people get tripped up on. You have a duality of everything. Everything is done in twos. Let's go real quick to the book of Ecclesiasticus. Ecclesiasticus chapter, I believe that's 33. There's two of them. But I believe there's one in the 33rd chapter. Just bear with me, see if I can find it. Yep, Ecclesiasticus 33 and 15. So look upon, let me see something. Oh no, let's start at 14. It says, good is set against evil and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. So everything is done in twos. There's a wicked side and there's a righteous side. Or there's a righteous side and a wicked side. It says, so look upon all the works of the Most High, Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, and there are two and two, one against another. And when you look at the spectrum of the scriptures, and when you look at, you know, the narrative or the stories in there, and you look at the main two characters, which is Jacob and Esau, that represents good and evil. Jacob represents good, Esau represents evil. Stems all the way back to Cain and Abel. Abel represented good, Cain represented evil. And if you could receive it, we believe that Cain and Abel, they came back reincarnated as Jacob and Esau. And when you go into the belief of these devils' theosophy, they also teach about reincarnation, which people look at that as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Everyone and everything is reincarnated into their office. You know, if you were a demon back then, if you were a witch, sorcerer, whatever, you will come back being that. If you were a real prophet back then, you will come back as being a prophet. If you were a righteous man or righteous woman back then, you will come back being a righteous man or righteous woman in this time. So on and so forth. The difference in the reincarnation breakdown is that the so-called Hindus teach that you come back reincarnated as a mosquito or a cow or something like that. That's madness. Because the scriptures say that all flesh is not the same flesh. But anyway, let's move on from there. Let's go to the next one, which is the 42nd chapter. And it's towards the end, roughly around the 24th verse. Yep. Ecclesiasticus 42:24. All things are double, one against another, and he had made nothing on. Let me see. See this is why. Damn. Let me see if I can find another apocrypha. Just bear with me 1 second, because that word there looks crazy. And that's why I don't really like those old English, unless you know it cold. The old English translation sometimes throw you off a little bit. That's the prologue. We don't want the prologue. We want the actual. And this one right here, boy. It's all right. Let's scroll down. Okay, 42 and 24. All things are double, one against another, and he hath made nothing imperfect. Okay, that's what it was. Imperfect. It just looked kind of funny. All right. So he has made nothing imperfect. All right, so everything is, there's a duality to everything. So you have the righteous side and you have the wicked side. This happens to be the wicked side, and they teach something similar to the righteous side, but they teach it in a wicked way. The scriptures also say that the wisdom of, matter of fact, let's get that real quick, and then we can read some of this article. That's come on, man. Ecclesiastes 19 and 22. It says the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. So just because you have knowledge, you have all types of knowledge, but the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom. So you have the righteous side and you have the wicked side. In order to achieve godhood, you have to know both. But the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, because wickedness leads to destruction, leads to death. And this is why we effed up right now. But the Lord is teaching us a lesson, like Elder High Priest Jaquab used to say, we have to learn both sides of the tree. And this is, the scriptures say that we were made subject to vanity, not willingly. Matter of fact, let me get that one real quick. So it says, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither at any time the counsel of sinners prudence. Right. So let's get this one more. This is the book of Romans chapter 8. Because a lot of Jake out there don't understand this. The Lord said he creates good and he creates evil. Romans 8 and 21. I'm sorry, 20. For the creature, which is we're the creature. We're the ones that created. The word creature is not a mystical or a monster. The word creature goes back to the word create. All right? All things were created back then. You did have monsters, you had fish, your animals, you had people that were created back then. But this is talking about the actual people dealing with Jake. And in general, because everybody was made subject to this. It says, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly. So this creature here is talking about the Israelites. We were made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope, because we have been subjected to hope through Yahushua. So this path that we're on right now, we didn't want to go down this path, but guess what? The Lord wanted this. So we had no choice. Okay? It says, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope. So let's go to this article. Let's read some of this and see what we can get through. And I'm going to jump around from between this article and this other page here, this web page. It says in the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Western world, see, because this is where wickedness existed in the world from the beginning. But from this side of the world, it really exploded even more through this devil's, witchcraft and sorceries. It says the Western world experienced a sudden burst of open occultism, which means hidden worship, among the ultra rich elites, and they have, a religion that they follow that is not biblical, even though they try to portray themselves as being righteous people of the Most High. It says occultism among the ultra-rich elites, the rise of theosophy was underway, becoming a kind of fashion trend that would ultimately set the stage for what would later be called New Age spiritualism. The primary driver of the theosophical movement was a small group of obscure academics led in part by a woman named H.P., which was Helena Blavatsky. The group was obsessed with esoteric belief, which was hidden belief, Gnosticism, and even Satanism. And this is the foundation of the American empire and what's being pushed to the world. It's being pushed on the world stage. The belief of the rulers of this American empire. So you have the grassroots, which believe, in the Bible, certain ones of them, but the majority, the ultra rich and the majority of the puppets under them, they all believe in this form of religion, which is satanic, which is known as theosophy. Now, you may say, what is theosophy? Theosophy, when we jump down to the actual word, right, the etymology, says at a meeting of the Miracle Club in New York City, out of all places, New York City is pretty much you could say the capital of America. On September 7th, 1875, Blavatsky, Olcott, which you see a picture of the two demons here, and Judge agreed to establish an organization with Charles Sutherland, suggesting that they call it the Theosophical Society. Okay? Now, we jump, it says prior to adopting the name Theosophical, they had debated various potential names, among them the Egyptological Society. Why? Because their teachings also go back to Egypt. This says the Hermetic Society, which is Hermes, which I believe Hermes goes back to Greece, if I'm not mistaken. And the what? The Rosicrucian Society. Okay? And this is the group that infiltrated One West, after this, all the different splits. They tried for many years, but they couldn't penetrate, and eventually they did, because, that's what the devil does. If he doesn't succeed, he's just going to keep going and keep going and keep going until he gets in there somehow, some way. All right, and once some of the elders passed away, King Mashar, High Priest Yaikwa, because they weren't having that, and the corruption came in there, and, the pretty much some of the pillars that were there were not there, then this is when they really fully infiltrated the Rosicrucian. So these are some of the names that they were taking, right? So it says Theosophy was established in New York City in 1875 with the founding of the Theosophical Society by Blavatsky and American Henry Olcott and William Quan Judge. It says in the earth, let me see something. You see his hands, there's some type of gesture. I'm not sure exactly what the gesture is, but, everything these devils do with their hand symbolisms and just their expressions and the way they their body language, it all tells a story. This is George Olcott. I'm sorry, this is Colonel Henry Street Olcott, and this is where's that demon at, Blavatsky? Okay, they didn't show a picture of her, but they showed a picture of her up above. All right, so that's what you're looking at, in this theosophy. This is the religion of the international banking families that control the world. All right, so going back to this, it says Blavatsky co-founded the Theosophical Society in New York in 1875, claiming that she had a psychic connection to beings called the Mahatmas, or the Masters. These creatures, she asserted, helped her write the foundational books of Theosophy, including the Secret Doctrine. I bring up Theosophy and Blavatsky because the movement she helped launch was primarily an elitist one. All right, because this is the religion of the so-called elite. The spread of occultism in the early 1900s specifically targeted the upper classes, and this resulted in many political leaders and financial leaders being involved in obscure organizations with secretive mandates, right? And this is why King David, in all his wisdom, going back to the Old Testament, which proves he was a prophet, he spoke about this group way back then. And he even spoke about the Edomites, having great power. They didn't have great power during his time because they were kicking them in the ass. So what time was it speaking about? It was speaking about these times when pretty much when the serpent would be let would be let loose out of his prison sentence and allowed to wreak havoc in the earth through, their legislation and through deception, through their religious beliefs, so on and so forth. So King David prayed in Psalm 64:1, "Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity," because these devils have been programmed to be this way from birth. When you go back to Psalms 58, it gives you that. But let's get real quick, before we go there to Psalms 58, let's go to Jeremiah 13, and let's show you something. In 23, can the Ethiopian change his skin? or the leoparded spots. And usually, well, that's really no, even though now they have a way you can bleach your skin, but for the most part, they can't change that. It says, then may you also do good that are accustomed to do evil. This is what you are set up to do. And since you've been let out of the caves, all you have done is, as deceived the world. You haven't, made an attempt to do something that was righteous, do something good. You are accustomed and you are, pickled in wickedness. All right. What was the other scripture? It was let's see, what was the other precept that came to mind? Psalms. Let's go to Psalms again. And this time let's go to the 58th chapter. And we'll start at the first verse. This is another prayer of King David. Do ye indeed speak righteousness, O congregation? Do you judge uprightly, you sons of men? And the answer to that is no. Because the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked, right? And what have they done? All they've done is shown the world how it is to be more and more wicked, how to perfect wickedness. It's so bad that, when you go to jail, right? When you go to jail, you're going to jail for your crimes, right? And you're supposed to go to jail to be penitent. The word penitent means to repent, right? To become a better citizen, based off the punishment that they're giving you. So they're supposed to so-called re-educate you and show you how to conduct yourself in society. But when you come out of the prison system, when you go in there, pretty much the prison system is a school, right? Like any other school. And there you're taught to become a better criminal, to become a professional criminal, not to be turned around. They don't want you to turn around. They want people to be totally, corrupt, so that you can have lawlessness in the streets, so that that can cause chaos, and that can help them bring forth and establish their so-called agenda, which is the New World Order. Yeah, in heart you work wickedness, right? But with your mouth you boast lies. You speak sweetly with your mouth. But in your heart and your mind you work wickedness. You weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. And you could see your corruption in the earth. And right now, from what I understand, I didn't see, the negative comments about it. But so-called they went to the moon again, landed in the moon, after all this bullshit that's going on. They landed on the moon to get people's minds off of shit, right? And then I heard there was a lot of people saying how that shit was bullshit. It looks staged. The shit is, is CGI and all kind of other bullshit. So the people are not buying it anymore. Your shit ain't working anymore. Those levers ain't working anymore. As the title Elder Apostle Tara gave out, about a month ago. I actually did a lesson on it. Your levers ain't working no more. Those levers you used to push, they ain't working anymore, because one thing that Eustace Volin said about these devils is that they're not particularly smart or intelligent, because they're not. The scriptures call them the bases of men. Matter of fact, let's get there real quick. But what they do have is the uncanny ability to continue to use a formula that has worked for them for many generations and continue to use it over and over again. But it's come to the point now where people have figured you out. Just like Toto pulled back the curtain on the wizard, and was found out to be some old, feeble, crusty devil. And that's pretty much who runs the world, some old, crusty devils. But and they are the bases of men. But the thing is that the Lord gave them that power to show you the great power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, to be able to allow a nobody, an insignificant, low-life, base man to rule the entire planet Earth and to have it under his clutches. That shows you the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Daniel 4:17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. So the Most High Yahweh Bashem Yahushai is ruling in the kingdom of men. And he gives it to whoever he wants to give it to, because it is his to give. That's why it says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. And it says, and setteth up over it the basest of men. These are the lowest of the low. All right. Now, in the book of Daniel, right, it speaks about vile and some another word, and that word there, one of the Hebrew words goes back to men of no name, people of no name. And what it means is not talking about that they don't have a name. It means that they are nobodies. All right, they are nobodies. Basis is Shapal Anayashyam, which is another. That's the way you. I think that was Enoch Anashyam. That was another way. I believe that's how you say Enoch, if I'm not mistaken. But the word basis is the word Shapal, lowliest of stations. So they are the lowest in the category of man. They are the lowest. And you have three classifications of men on the planet. Number one is the sons of God, which are the Israelites, Yasha Allah, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, right? Number two, sons of men, which comprise of every other nation under the earth, except for the number three, which are sons of the wicked, which are the Edomites, so-called white people. These are the people of the Most High's curse, and the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever. All of them, not just Esau the man. Every last one of them. So the Lord set up the basis of men. Now, going back to Psalms 58 and 3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. So as soon as they're born, they're strange. They're wicked. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Because this is one of their fortes. The strongholds and blessings of Esau, number one is the sword. Number two is their wickedness. Their deceit, which goes into their wickedness. So those are like the two strongholds of these devils. That's what they thrive off of. They don't thrive off of righteousness. They thrive off of wickedness. They thrive off of deception. They thrive off of, power. Merciless, naked power. Naked, merciless power. Inside joke. It says their poison, which is what? The words that they speak is like the poison of a serpent. Which, once the serpent bites you, if the serpent is venomous, what happens? You slowly die from the venom that is injected into you. And this is what the world is. The world is dying a slow death from Esau's venom that he has injected into the world and caused them to drink it through that cup. They are like the deaf adder. A deaf adder, deaf means can't hear you. Adder is a snake, a serpent that stop at their ear. In other words, they will not listen to you. Right? And it goes on to say, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers. Who are the charmers? The charmers are the prophets. And they are not listening to the prophets, even though they have the prophets out here. That's why in the parable of Lazarus and the rich man, right, when the rich man died and Lazarus died and they went up to heaven, and notice they went to heaven, right? When they went there, what happened? Let's just put it like this. When they died, right, the righteous man was in a place of torment. And that place of torment is not hell. It's not a place where you go burn forever. The place of torment, which was an actual parable, the place of torment was captivity or slavery, right? And in that captivity, he asked, Abraham to please send back one from the dead to warn his brothers not to come to that place of torment, which is what? Slavery and captivity in the future. And what did Abraham say to them? He said, they have Moses and the prophets, let them hear them. So they have the book, but they also have the prophets that are out here telling them who they are and what their future and fate is. They're not going to listen. Neither are they going to listen to somebody even if they came back from the grave and told them about this place, because they are programmed. Remember, the wicked are estranged from the womb. It says, which will not hearken to the voice of charmers, charming never so wisely. So going back to Psalm 64 and 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And this is their secret, is to have the world enslaved through debt, and pretty much to have the world enslaved through debt and then ruled through their form of religion, which is this theosophy business. Okay? Like I said, we were watching a movie called The International, And in that movie, they were tracking down, particular, corporations and things of that nature, right? And actual banks. So this particular bank was buying small arms and providing these small arms to different militaries around the world. And their job, as he was telling them, was he didn't care. The bank did not care if it helped the cause either way, whichever side they were funding, because the international bankers fund both sides of the. Whenever you see a war, they're paying both sides. They're providing weapons and money to both sides. So they're not concerned. He said they're not concerned. The bank was not concerned which side won. They weren't concerned, or rooting for one or the other. And they didn't care if it worked out in one way or the other. He said all that the bank cares about is having these people in debt. See, because debt equals slavery. And there was a little more to the conversation, right? And then the very next scene, they show him on the podium giving a speech, and the sniper took him out. 2 snipers took him out after giving that speech. But somebody, oh, see, man, there you go with the movies again. Okay, well, you believe what you want to believe, dog. It says, who wet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. Yeah, and these bitter words are coming through the legislation, which is known as draconian legislation, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. And that's the who are the perfect? The Israelites, because the Israelites are the biggest threat to Esau's New World Order. Because the Israelites, which they know that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians are the Israelites, and they know that they lost their birthright because they sold it, and they were supplanted for their blessing. So if they figure if they can get rid of the Israelites, then they can get their birthright back. But they can't, because in Hebrews, the 12th chapter, it tells you that Esau he's not going to get no form of repentance, even though he sought it carefully with tears. We saw that when Antiochus Epiphanes was trying to get back the birthright. I'm sorry. When Antiochus Epiphanes, he was talking all kind of shit of what he was going to do to Jake, and then once that disease hit him, he was still proud. But then the more that disease started eating him away, which was instantaneously, right? He started to repent and said he would do this, and he would honor the Most High, and he would honor the Israelites, and this, that, and the other, and the Lord didn't hear him, and just made him just drop dead. You see, because that is a perfect example of Esau not receiving any form, of repentance, any form of mercy, because they have not shown any mercy. You will have judgment without mercy that have shown no mercy. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. Yeah, because what they have in store for the world is the evil matter. They plan on deleting a certain amount of people, going back to the Georgia Guidestones, which were destroyed, and I believe that was 2022. We were speaking about that at the camp yesterday. The reason why they allowed it to be destroyed, which they set that whole thing up, I believe, is because they already accomplished those goals. You see? They already accomplished those goals. And in most of these people, it's hidden, and they don't even know it yet. Right? So they accomplished that. So those are the evil matters, because the New World Order, they see that the world there's too many people in the world for them to control. So what they have to do is they have to cull the herd. They have to cut it down. And that's why they're doing what they do, to cut it down to a manageable size. All right? That's what they want to do. There's theories and other stuff that they go by, but that's the main point. It says they commune of laying snares privately. What are these snares? That's dealing with these different legislations, right, and different scenarios, because they have pressure from above, pressure from below, and the solution that comes into the center, where the people are at, they're sandwiched by both of the attempts that they're pushing out there. The problem that they bring in and the solution that they're offering. And the people are stuck right in the middle. See? Problem, reaction, solution, or something like that. And that people are sandwiched in the middle between something that they created and something that they offered. And that's the snares privately, because eventually what that's going to lead to is what? To people having to take the MOTB. International bankers, they want to be like the Most High. They want everyone micro C-hipped. Their top dudes, Klaus Schwab and Yuval Harari, they're telling you what they want to do. Have total surveillance, have everything be digital, have some type of surveillance underneath the skin of people. This is what they want. This is what they're pushing. But a lot of you ain't even hearing. You ain't hearing what they got to say. You ain't up on what's happening with the WEF. You ain't listening to what they're telling you. It says they say, who shall see them? Because they don't think that the Lord sees them. They search out iniquities because the reason why they don't think the Lord sees them, because they think that the Lord is with them. Because nothing has happened to them. Nothing major has happened to these devils yet. But because the Lord is saving you, because your judgment is going to be very, very juicy. They search out iniquities, and you see them every time they put out some type of legislation, every time they put out some type of, incident that happens, in the inner cities or around the world, whatever the case may be. These are all iniquities that they're searching out. So by the time they springboard the whole thing together, they have tried all of the different methods everywhere on the planet, and they see that they get the same result. Like the movie Monsters That Do on Maple Street. I'm not sure if that was the one where those two devils were on top of the mountain looking down, and we should do the same thing in each city by city, or whatever, however they put it. Forget the whole thing. The Twilight Zone episode. I don't know if it was that one or there was another one. Where pretty much they want total chaos among the people, because that total chaos is going to cause people to break down, kill each other, and then cause so much panic and anarchy that's going to cause the martial law troops and the National Guards and the reserves and all that to come in to establish order, thereby announcing, look, since all this is going on, we're going to establish this new world order. And they've been talking about the new world order for decades, for centuries. And they're now at the point where they see it, they see it in their grasp. They accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, right? Because they'll say one thing with their mouth, but internally it's something else. It says, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, because their plans are going to be spoiled by the missiles here on the soils of America, because this is pretty much their catapult for the New World Order. That's where the Lord's going to lay this place flat, and for many reasons. Suddenly shall they be wounded, right? Because their whole enterprise is going to fall apart. So all of this that they've been doing, with the theosophy, and the globalist psychopathic religion, and everything that they have done to push their beliefs on the world, and setting up this infrastructure for permanent enslavement of the majority of the populace is all going to fail. Because you are working for the Most High, even though you don't know it. So it says the spread of occultism in early 1900s specifically targeted the upper classes, and this resulted in many political leaders and financial leaders being involved in obscure organizations with secretive mandates. Because this is what Meyer Amschel Bauer said: "Give me control over nations, money not care, not who writes the laws." Because these different corporations that are owned by these banking families, they pay off these senators and these people that pass these different legislations. Okay? And when they pass these different legislations, who do you think benefits from it? The ones that's putting the money in, these giant corporations. Such groups have existed in the past, from the Rosicrucians and Freemasons to the alchemists of the Middle Ages, who hid their occult beliefs in coded texts. However, never before had they been so public in their efforts, right? Because the one thing that they needed was secrecy, hiding from the secret council of the wicked. But now that they almost got their whole thing in place, they don't need to hide it anymore. Because the majority of these people are so bugged out that they'll accept anything that these devils put out there without questioning it, without fighting against it. It says, to their credit, the early theosophists were mostly apolitical, at least outwardly, and they argued against political intrusion into people's lives. I suspect, however, that this was because at the time Western governments revolved around Christians and conservative values. No, because this right here, the reason why they mentioned this, because they were in it, but what happened was once they seen the true plans, they had a change of heart. Let's go back to Psalm 64. Psalm 64 and 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And there's another one, just bear with me 1 second, I'm going to come back to that. In the book of Micah, chapter 6. And just bear with me while I find it. Right. Micah 6 and 14. Thou shalt eat, but not be satisfied, and thy casting down shall be in the midst of thee. Right, because it's going to be their own selves that tell on themselves. All right, and thou shalt take hold, but shalt not deliver, and that which thou deliverest will I give up to the sword. So pretty much you're finished. You're finished. All right, so going back to Psalm 64 and 8. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. So let's read a little bit more of this. It says, as politicians became more separate from Christianity, the theosophists' interest in controlling government grew, and the movement became increasingly socialist in practice. Invariably, these spiritual systems evolved around pagan deities of the past. And this is what you have to understand. This so-called spiritual system of theosophy goes back to pagan worship, which this pagan worship that they're talking about goes all the way back to the dark nations that set up these different, religions based off of these false gods that they were worshiping. This is what the Lord told Jake, when you go to among these people, right, I'm giving you their land, you better make sure you don't do what they do, because if you do what they do, just like they got kicked out, you're going to get kicked out. And what happened? As soon as Jake saw it, they started playing. Play too goddamn much. It says, so this system revolved around pagan deities of the past and many Babylonian or ancient Egyptian in origin. See, because it goes back, when you research the mystery religions, they go back to Babylon, they go back to Sumer, they go back to ancient Egypt, they go back to those nations that were ruling at the time, that had their empires up at the time, that had their left hand priesthood, and they had certain rites, certain things that they did, incantations, so on and so forth. Come on in, bro. Cap a squat. There are different incantations of the past. This is what they're going back to. So this is what these devils did. They took all of the different ancient witchcraft and sorceries from these other nations. They incorporated it into what you see today as America. That's why, matter of fact, we go to the scripture a lot, but let's get it anyway. And we joined here by the Elder Ash, and if you have any precepts you want to bring out, feel free. Nahum 3, and we're just going to go straight to the point, verse 4. It says, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcrafts, that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts. Now, when we look up this word witchcrafts, see, that's why it's important to look up words. Witchcraft is the word kashap, right? Now the word kashaf is sorcery, witchcraft, magic, because they're doing this on the left hand side. That's what these devils are doing. They're doing everything that they do on the left hand side. Here it says this is the root word of it, to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft. Right here, to whisper a spell. And a lot of times, we've witnessed witches come up to the camp and they'll start going, because they're trying to put incantations and curses upon us. And then when people pick up on it, they'll start saying Jesus, Jesus, but they're trying to put spells on us. But the scriptures say what? There's no enchantments against Jacob. Right? It says an example, to enchant or practice magic. And that's what they do. And everything that they do has a priesthood on the left-hand side. That's where they have their certain garbs, the way they dress. They have, certain way that certain processions that they do. Because if you have a priesthood, you have to have, something, to show forth your priesthood. Trying to explain it the best way I can. Like when you go to church, you have something called a procession. You have, like in the Roman Catholic Church, they have the different, false gods or statues that they carry around. Then you have the, they give you the Eucharist cookie. They do all the different, chants in Latin. These are all incantations. These are all processions. So witchcraft, which pretty much the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity is, they do the same thing. They cast spells on people. It's nothing different. But the Roman Catholic Church and them and the other daughter churches, they do the same thing, but they do it so-called in the name of Jesus. That's why you can't be calling on Jesus and Christ, because those are demons. The Most High Son's name is not Jesus or Christ. His name is Yahushua HaMashiach. And I'm not sure if it was a lesson I was doing, or I was speaking to the brothers, or it was at camp. I can't remember exactly, but Apostle Charles said, I wonder how you say Christ in Japanese. And he said it a couple of times, and I actually looked it up. And there's really no way of saying it. Because what I heard was they say Christos, but they put that Japanese accent to it, and then they say Christos. So that goes back to the Greek. So technically there's really no word in Japanese for Christos. I should have put in so-called Jesus, see what they say. So these are all incantations and spells that they're putting on the people. Sorcery, magic. And that's what the Lord said, that, that the mysteries of witchcraft. And the Lord's going to destroy this place, and her witchcraft is not going to work anymore on the world. Those different spells that they have on the people, then it's not going to work anymore. And we see it just based off of that little bit, that madness that they brought out, the so-called landing on the moon. And people are snapping all over that shit. Man, that looks cheesy, man. That shit's fake. That shit's CGI, So you that worked back in 1969, because people were not as savvy. But today, more and more people are starting to wake up to your nonsense. And although the majority of people are still bugged out, you still have some that can see. All right. So I'm gonna read a little bit more of this. If you have any precepts, brother, if not, we get ready to close it out. It says, invariably, these spiritual systems revolved around pagan deities of the past, many Babylonian or ancient Egyptians in origin. That said, there are also numerous mentions in theosophy of one figure in particular, Lucifer. Now, one thing I will say is that Lucifer is not Satan. It's not a name for Satan. And this letter here, L, should not be capitalized, because the word Lucifer is pretty much a label, a title, and it just means light bearer. That's all it means, right? It's also referred to as the light bearer, the angel of light, Prometheus, symbolically the dragon, the morning star, and Satan. So they are correct about this part: the dragon, the morning star, and Satan, right? They're correct in this, but they're trying to put it on the spiritual demon Satan, which is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It's talking about people, men on the earth, especially the top men, which are the international banking families. All right. When you go to the book of Revelation, it speaks about the dragon. That dragon has 7 heads and 10 horns. Within the same book of Revelation, it breaks down what that 7 heads and 10 horns represents. And it represents men ruling on the earth through these different empires. It's not talking about a spiritual demon, Satan in the heavens. That's he's in perfect order with the Most High. But these people that the Lord called Lucifer or Satan or the dragon, they are the direct sons and daughters of Satan, and they're doing his bidding on the earth, which the Lord gave them to do. You see? It says modern Luciferians will consistently deny that the name Lucifer has anything to do with the biblical figure of Satan, which is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan, but they are Satan because the word Satan means adversary. Just like you have the word angel. Angel could apply to a message, a messenger, or it could apply to, spiritual being. But this is a lie. Blavatsky herself treats the two figures as synonymous in the secret doctrine as she admits in her book. And now it stands proven that Satan, or the red fiery dragon, the lord of phosphorus, which is light or light bearer, because the way you say Lucifer in Greek is Yosphoros, which is light bearer, light carrier. And Lucifer or light bearer is in us, it is our mind. So all of these names here these are names for Esau, for the so-called international banking families. Another name that they call themselves is the Illuminati. All right, the bearers of the light. It has nothing to do with the spiritual demon Satan, even though they work for him, even though they are his sons and daughters. That is a separate entity from Lucifer. And that seems to be a trip up for these Christians. It says, Blavatsky, quoting Hermetic texts in the secret doctrine, also repeats the mantra. It is Satan who is the God of our planet and the only God. And that's true right now. But the Most High is the power, and Satan works for him because he gave this earth is under a total demonic vibration. But Lucifer, the red dragon, and all that has nothing to do with the spiritual demon Satan, although they work for him. So you can understand. Lucifer does not mean the spiritual demon Satan. You have to keep repeating it like that because people don't understand that point. All right? I mean, it goes on and on and on. It's a little lengthy. I read the whole thing earlier, and they got a couple of videos of this devil, Yuval Harari, this devil, this Mo, this little hack Mo, and pretty much that's the main point. But they're going to lose in a bad way. They're going to lose in a bad way. But this is what they've done. Matter of fact, we'll close out with this if you don't have anything, brother. We'll close out with Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries. Notice it said multitude of thy sorceries, because this is what you've been pushing on the world. Demonic incantations and clusters that you've been pushing on the world through your movies, through your music, through your billboards. That billboard, love trans people, that bullshit ass billboard that they got popping up everywhere. This is what they're pushing on the world. Wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Right. From your youth when? From when you were first established. Going back, you could say going back to the Renaissance period, but really when America was established here, because America, it said that it was established on Christian principles, but your founding forefathers, they were all witches and masons and all of that. Now you'll say, so well, no, some of them were, some of them weren't. Regardless, look, the whole system was set up demonically. All right. And then you had Haim Solomon, which was a financier for the Rothschilds, came here and paid the forefathers off. Come on, man. There's too much information out for you to be that thick. It says, if so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Right, because you're not going to be able to pay off these witches or get these witches to put an incantation so incredible that the Most High says, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm not going to destroy Esau. I'm just going to let him continue to rule. He's almost got his, his agenda in place. Let him just have it. No. It says, thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. You see? So none of these things that you've been doing are going to work. You're only going to get so far. You've been deceived. The Lord said he put you in a slippery place. It says, behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them, they shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, there shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before, because this place is going to be totally destroyed. This is your vision of the future. This is what the place, America, that you set up to be the capital of the New World Order. But it's going to be totally burnt. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchant from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarters, none shall save thee. Yeah, because they're going to see this place go up in smoke, and they're not going to be able to sell their wares anymore here, and they're not going to be able to help you. Because you have a lot of witches from Russia, you have a lot of witches from among the so-called East Indian and these Tibet and all these different places where you have these so-called wise sages on the left-hand side that you're getting your wisdom from, you're getting your orders from, but they're not going to help you because they're going to be looking to get the hell out of Dodge themselves. So with that, you want to say a few words? So with that, I want to say, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified, and Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mehahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, and Lord's will, you brothers and sisters were edified. Shalom. The sincere ones.